Welcome to episode 62 of the Lovoni and Sarah podcast, where we chat weight loss, health, well-being, share recipes and set weekly challenges. We encourage each other to lose weight, become stronger and squeeze more juice out of life. We also share our stories so you know you're not alone in this. I'm Lovoni.
And I'm Sarah, and on today's episode we're talking protein and how much do you really need? There's a lot of noise online about protein and how much one needs to consume. In layman's terms, we're talking about what protein is, the function of body proteins and why protein is so important, how much we need to be consuming, and the best sources of protein, whether you're an omnivore or vegetarian. But before we delve into protein, we'd like to apologise for missing an episode last week due to work commitments. Since we started this podcast back in January 2023, we've not missed an episode apart from scheduled breaks.
We love creating the podcast, but it's time consuming and we both have our own businesses. So I'm sure you will understand, but let's crack on with today's episode, protein. Now, it is a very dry subject, and I was just talking to Sarah about this before, and what we want to really do is come up with, well, not come up with, we didn't just dream this out of the air, but give you amounts of how much protein is best for a body.
Yes.
And some good sources of it. But I think before we do that, we just want to go through some things on like what protein actually is and why
it feels
important.
It just feels like it's a bit of a buzzword at the moment, doesn't it? And actually,
Very
it's
much
so much
so.
more than that. But I think that's the trouble. It just feels yet another bloody fad. Like, well, it's not, but it can feel like that. And actually, potentially, you could head into it like that. So I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's just trying to get to the bottom of what do you need to pay attention to, what you don't, and a bit of guidance, really, because
and not all protein is created equal.
Yes.
So just like a rundown. Okay, so bear with us as we go through this, and we'll be quick with it. All right.
Yes.
Of the three energy nutrients, which is protein, fat, and carbs, protein is perhaps the most highly regarded, especially at the moment. Even the name, I don't know if you know this, a Greek word. Now I'm probably going to say it wrong, but proteus.
Yeah.
Means of prime importance. So there you go. Okay. So protein is one of the most important nutrients needed to sustain our cells. And proteins are compounds composed of atoms and are arranged as strands of amino acids. Now, the reason I tell you this is because there are 20 amino acids, 9 of which we need to consume from food. Right. So that's why I'm telling you this. The other 11 amino acids our body can produce. Okay. Our protein makes up important components of our bones, muscles, cartilage, skin, and blood. They also form enzymes and hormones that help the body function regularly. Anything you want to throw in there before I clap on and bore the pants off everybody?
The other thing that it can do is it can help reduce hunger, because it's something that's the way that it burns is longer lasting, isn't it? So
right,
that was one thing that I'd written down. It's got a higher thermic effect, which basically means that you stay fuller for longer or feel fuller for longer, and it can boost your metabolism. So it's something which is quite a valuable part if you're trying to watch what you're eating and the role it's got to play. But we'll get into that a bit later.
Right.
That's probably covers
so
that.
Something that people may not be aware of is that it assists the body in maintaining its resistance to disease, which people just think of protein as muscle building. So it acts as buffers. Also, a buffer is in maintaining the acid base level concentration in body fluids. That sounds
nice.
yummy. And that's inside your body, and regulates the quantity of fluid in body compartments.
Right. Wow.
I've tried to keep this as
as light as possible.
It also moves essential nutrients throughout the body. It can be used to provide calories and is used to help meet the body's energy needs. Now, some amino acids can be converted to glucose as a fuel source for the brain and nervous system when carbohydrate intake is inadequate. So like ketosis, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody must have heard of keto,
Yeah.
keto, yeah. So protein is either animal-based or plant-based. Animal-based protein is a complete protein, providing all 9 essential amino acids. Plant protein is incomplete. Because of this, it's recommended to have various types of plant proteins together, such as rice and
Right.
beans. You think of, Mexicans eat
Okay.
a lot of
Mm-hmm.
rice and beans. And I always thought that was weird, having 2 carbs together, until I studied and learnt. Yeah.
Okay.
Or peanut butter on a slice of bread. Yummy. Who doesn't love that? Soy, seeds, and nuts in other combinations.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay.
But how much do you need? That's what we're getting into, right?
Well, it is. And the other thing that I just wondered before we dive into that bit was like, two things. When did this all change? Because not that far back, it used to be quite a regularly understood thing that on your plate you had your carbs, your meat, which is your protein, and then your vegetables. And it was never questioned how much. I suppose some of it is expense as well, because the protein is probably the most expensive part of the plate often, as if you think about meat is the more expensive part. So
yeah,
when did this shift move from just having a really small amount of protein on your plate with probably filling it out with either potatoes because it's cheaper, or vegetables? And I had a really quick look, and in the 1960s, it looks like it was one of the first times that really started to shift over to thinking about what's going on the plate in different proportions. And a guy called Dr. Maxwell Stillman created the Stillman diet, and he was the first advocate of high protein, no carb, low fat. So it looked like it was around then when it started to be questioned,
right.
what you eat, and that probably links in with a whole load of other stuff with what was being produced in supermarkets and things at the time. But that interested me, because I thought, it always used to be, didn't it, the standard thing on your plate
Meat
was
and 3 veg
exactly
type
every
thing.
day.
Yeah.
It used to be the same. So when did that happen?
Right.
And the other thing that interested me is I saw just weirdly yesterday an infographic of what you're having on your plate compared to what you're trying to achieve. So it gave you 2 different images. One, if you were trying to create muscle gain, and the portions on your plate of how you do that. And if you're trying to do weight loss, very different. And so for muscle gain, it had like a little centralized area on the plate on this infographic, and that's where your fats were as well. So, and if you're trying to do muscle gain, you had a larger fat area because the fats were good for the muscle gain. But the fiber, which would be your sort of vegetables, your carbs, and your protein, were very equally mapped around the plate. So even though you're talking about having a certain amount of protein, it's not at the expense of having the other food groups as well, because that's what some people forget. I guess they hear protein and then you think you've got to go like a keto diet or Atkins sort of type of process. That's not it at all, is it? It's just saying with everything else that you're eating, you need to make sure you're having enough protein. But on the other side of this infographic was for weight loss, which I guess we're probably a little bit more focused on, although we want
yes,
to
I'm
do
not focused on bodybuilding. Definitely.
No, but I don't think it has to be muscle gain as in for that. Even if you're trying to actually improve with the weights that you're doing and the resistance training you're doing, that's still really important, because you've got to think about your muscles. But anyway, the weight loss side was on the plate. Half of it was your fiber, which was your kind of your vegetable side. Your fats were very low in the middle, and then the carbs and the protein were pretty equally spaced on the other side. So that was useful, I thought. And I thought that helped me, because as soon as I hear and see the reams of people talking about protein on social media, in my head, I can't help but jump to that whole, it's just eating the meat, and next to nothing on your plate. And that's not the case. This is about balance.
Well, it's about sustainability as well, because I know that there are some people that do the carnivore diet, and hey, look, all the power to them if they're feeling great and all the rest of it. But I love my veggies, and I love potatoes and rice, and bread. So I don't want to give any of that up. So, but I'm needing to lose weight, and I'm working on that. So it's how to fit it all together to make it work, which is why, people talk about macros. And I get that, how many macros do you need, which is your fats, carbohydrates, proteins, right? But oh, good grief. Like, who wants to figure that out for
Mm-hmm.
every meal?
Mm-hmm.
Not me.
No.
Sorry. I know it helps with weight loss, but it's just not
Too much.
sustainable.
Too
It's
much.
just too much.
Yep.
Before I sort of get into it a bit more, there's one thing that I do want to say is that the role of protein in food is not to provide body proteins directly, but to supply the amino acids the body
Right.
uses to make its own protein. And the body cells can't store these amino acids for future use. So if you're thinking, oh, I'll just sit down and eat a 2-pound steak, I'll be good. No.
No.
So it doesn't work
Okay.
like that. But how much do we need? This is where it gets confusing,
Yep.
right? So what I learned with my studies of being a nutritionist is
Mm-hmm.
that you multiply your weight in 0.8 by 0.8, right?
Yeah. I got that.
Your
0.75. Yeah.
kilos, but that's kilos, right? So if you're 68 kilos, that's about 150 pounds. Then you want to eat 54 grams of protein a day. Now, some people will be like, oh, that's just not enough. So, like we were talking, there is so much information out there because I've heard differently. I know you
Mm-hmm.
have too. Some trainers tell you you'll need like 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. Okay, so figure that out.
Yeah.
But I think for people, if they were in that 0.8 to 1.5
Mm-hmm.
window there, they'd be good.
Yeah.
Unless you're excessively working out and maybe you're doing a bodybuilding
Mm-hmm.
competition or something. But even then, it's still not excessive.
Well, no,
And
because
all
I
the
saw that for that 0.75, which is the 0.8 per kilo of body weight. So then it was saying for an average person, this is not someone that's overweight, okay, but for that
right.
average, that really looks like 2 portions of meat or fish a day, which let's go back to what's kind of creating just a really straightforward the way that we eat. Well, then that means something at lunchtime and something in the evening.
Right.
That's not that difficult, is it? So
No, it's
some
not
fish
rocket
or some, no,
science.
it's not. And I think for me, that's where this sort of let's just normalize everything comes in. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my
Yeah.
goodness, can I really be weighing? Yes, it's quite good for a guideline. Maybe once I might have a look and go, what does that actually look like for me at my body weight?
Right.
Then I'll take a bit of a mental photograph of that and go, okay, I'm done with that now. I now know that I roughly need to eat maybe a can of tuna at lunchtime or a chicken breast in the evening as well. That I think that's helpful, don't you think? Just to try and make it easy rather than feeling like you've got to weigh out all of this every time.
Well, and some days are different to others, as you know. Like, you're busy one day, maybe you skipped a meal. Doesn't always happen, but sometimes it happens with me.
Yeah.
Or you haven't had as much protein as you think, or even as many vegetables. But as long as it happens over the course of a week,
An
that's what I
average.
think.
Yeah, an
The
average. Yeah.
Because, to have to add, especially if you're trying to lose weight, now you've got more pressure on yourself that, oh my God, I have to eat my cup of blueberries. I've got to have my 80 grams of protein and drink 2 liters of water and blah, 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 like all this stuff. Yeah, it's great. But I mean, you don't want to stress yourself out about it. Seriously.
No.
So, just think about, so we've made it a little easier for people.
As
right?
I say, should we talk about the sources of where you can get it from?
Yeah. So I guess chicken breast is probably the
The
most
most known.
common, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 4 ounces, which is theoretically 113 grams, but I've rounded it up to 125 grams because that's what I do. Of cooked chicken breast, which can be a bit blur, has 21 grams of protein and 123 calories. So really not that much. I prefer thighs, which have 232 calories and about the same amount of protein. So, that's up to the individual. Right. And eggs. I think people think there's a lot more protein in eggs than there are.
Right.
So one large egg has 6 grams of protein and 75 calories.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm not saying eggs aren't good, because all those add up, all the grams of protein, but so do the calories there. So yeah.
Fish, what does fish look like?
Fish such as snapper, cod, halibut has anywhere from where are we? It has about 95 to 113 calories. And that has about anywhere from like 18 through to 28 grams of protein. This is what I like, because I love prawns, or shrimp as they call them here in the US. So 125 grams, roughly 4 ounces, has 26 grams of protein and only 135 calories.
Whoa.
Yeah, of course, that's just maybe in a stir fry or something. It's not bread and deep fried.
No.
But you know what is high in protein is pork. So, but it can also be higher in fat. But a pork tenderloin, so once again, I'm using the 125 gram thing here. It has 35 grams of protein and 204 calories. So that's not too bad. Yeah. Turkey's about the same as chicken.
Yeah. What about things like yogurt, particularly Greek yogurt? It's quite good, isn't it?
So yogurt has about 8 grams of protein for a cup, and about 200 calories. That's whole milk yogurt, because I don't like the low fat, no fat stuff. Cottage cheese is quite high. So 1 cup, Sarah loves cottage cheese. 1 cup is about 25 grams of protein, about 200 calories. But I've said to her, if you get that, you put a bit of cocoa in, and like something like monk fruit sweetener that has no carbs, and you whiz it up in a blender. It's delicious with berries.
Just
it's
eat
like chocolate
5
mousse.
eggs. Thank you. 5 eggs. That's fine.
Okay, radio.
But Greek yogurt has more than normal yogurt, doesn't it?
That can have like around 12 grams. But it's not, I don't think it's that high. Quinoa. Okay, can we just talk about quinoa for a sec?
Yes.
Do you like it?
I do. Do you not? I could
good
sense
grief.
that you do not.
I hate the smell of it.
Oh.
I hate that it just gets so tiny. It gets stuck on everything, right?
Yeah.
But it just doesn't blow my hair back, I have to say. And, because remember, there was a big thing about quinoa. That was, like touted as a superfood, It's not actually grain, it's a seed, all that faff. 8 grams of protein in 1 cup of cooked quinoa and 222 calories. And I'm like, seriously, all that for 8 bloody grams.
What about lentils? They're better though, surely.
See, lentils are good. Lentils have a cup of cooked lentils is 18 grams of protein and 230 calories. So, and then you pair that with some rice, which has 7 grams of protein, 240 calories. But if you put those two together, now you've got a complete protein. And then you had some veggies with it. So even though together they're like, 500 calories or something, 480 calories. But then you put like some, nice peppers and, roasted peppers or whatever. But veggies, spinach, things like that are, low calories.
Yeah.
That's a nice meal. Bread, of course, has proteins, because the protein is found in the gluten in bread. Yeah, so like a slice of whole grain bread, which is about 32 grams, can have anywhere from 3 to 5 grams of protein, about 80 calories, depending on the size of it.
So really, what I'm hearing is that if you eat a kind of, yet again, we go back to just a varied and nutritional based diet throughout the day, 55 grams, excuse me, it doesn't take long to get to add up to, does it?
No, and if you're sitting in between, like I said, if people are in between the 0.8 grams to 1.5 grams per kilo of body weight, right? I don't know what that is in what's like 2.2 pounds, right?
Yeah.
And and you do eat, like you can have some yogurt for breakfast with, fruit or some eggs or something for breakfast. That's a whole nother subject, the eggs. That would be a good one to do a podcast on, because there's so much conjecture about eggs from doctors. But if you go to a doctor and they tell you got high cholesterol, but it's not, an inherited one, right? Through the, your mom or your dad or whatever. Like eggs are good.
Yeah.
They're good. Some people will tell me I'm talking shit, but whatever.
They've changed their mind on that, haven't they? They used to be really hard on it with the cholesterol, and now they're like, actually, it's fine.
And they're not horribly expensive. I know they've gone up in price, but
No,
they're
but it's a
not
cheap
awfully
meal.
expensive.
Cheap meal compared to everything else. Yeah.
Like an omelette, you can put, you can do an omelette and you can put beans in that with some veggies. That would be good for your protein.
We eat so many eggs. If I think you have about 6 hens just to try and keep up with it.
Right. So nuts, that's another good. I mean, nuts are high in calories. But it's good. It is good fat. And so like a quarter of a cup has about 200 calories. It varies a little between the nuts, but like almonds, for example, I think almonds and pistachios are about the highest, and they have about 7 grams. But it's good to have like a little handful of nuts every day, especially if you live, in a cold climate. What?
Sorry.
Oh, I think I remember what that's like.
Sorry. My brain just went there for a minute.
That's awesome. It's usually me that has the brain of a 12-year-old boy.
It was me today.
How can I go on after
having
that?
a little handful of nuts is good for you.
Yes, a handful of nuts. Hopefully it's more than a little handful, darling.
Dear.
Yeah.
Soya.
Anyway.
What about soya? Let's move on.
Oh, yeah. So tofu, because I know. Yeah, tofu is good. Oh, God.
I was thinking more edamame beans. Edamame beans.
Oh, yeah, right. Okay, whatever. Next time I'm over there, I'm going to cook you my tofu.
No, it
Trust
actually
me.
makes me sick. I'm not eating
I can't believe that. My sister's the same. But it's so good. You just make it crispy and then you put like a hot sauce over it. Oh, it's delicious. No. But no, tofu is good. 10 grams of protein, but it's very low in calories. It only has that's for 125 grams. Now I'm crying after that.
I'm sorry.
There goes my mascara. But it's 95 calories, so it's very low in calories.
It's even lower for me because I won't eat the bloody stuff. So, pulses? Pulses are good.
Yeah, so things like chickpeas, cannellini beans, red kidney beans, all of that. I like red kidney beans and rice. They eat that in the South here. And, of course, Mexican with your black beans and rice. That's really good. So, it's also a good to try different things out as well, rather than just eating blooming chicken breast. Yeah. Because I think a lot of people think that's what they have to do. No, but you can make a delicious, prawn stir fry. Yeah. Yummy. I love prawns. Not that anybody cares, but I do. With lots of garlic. Any seafood, like all the seafood. Yeah. Is good. Salmon, that's another one because, yes, it's a bit higher in calories, but of course, when you're eating salmon, you're getting your omega-3s as well. But salmon is about the same as chicken for proteins.
Oh, and that's good because we eat a lot of salmon.
Yeah, but higher in calories. But that's okay. It all balances out. If you're wanting to lose weight, you have to take that into consideration. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But seriously, if you ate, say, 12 ounces of chicken a day, mix it up, okay? But I'm just saying, just chicken to make it easier. So you're looking at over 60 grams of protein and 700 calories. So, depends on how much you want to lose. For me, I'm trying to stick within 1,600 calories a day, 15 to 16. So, you've got room for other things there. And then if you add yogurt, maybe an egg or two to that, you're pretty good. You're sitting pretty good. And like you said, like a tuna salad or a salmon salad, I'm going to make an egg salad for my lunch
Let's
today.
talk about things like the protein bars, the protein shakes.
Oh, yes, let's. Because, this is where our sponsorship for protein bars and shakes is never going to happen. No. So when we talk protein, we're talking about good protein. Natural. We're not talking about the stuff that's been manufactured in a factory. The ultra processed stuff. All of that stuff is ultra processed. If people don't, if they're starving and want to, or hungry, I should say, and want, just a quick thing. Okay, once in a while, a protein bar. I think they're quite disgusting, actually. I'd rather eat a brownie. Speaking of which, you can make like brownies and put, say, black beans in there. So now you've got your flour, which has the protein.
Brownies made with sweet potato are really, really lovely too.
Yeah.
So that's another, fiber in there with it too.
I wondered what you were going to say then. Brownies made with anyway.
No.
But yeah, you would never know that there were black beans in there.
Yeah.
So, good, because chocolate already has a lot of fiber, as does avocado, but I'm getting off the topic there. What did you ask me? Oh God, protein bars and stuff.
Protein bars.
Like, they're expensive too. I mean, seriously, I know people are getting.
We have had them in our house before.
Protein
but every time they give you a bad guts. They really, really do. Like your tummy is
like read the friggin' label.
Oh
of
man!
In them.
And my son, when he's training for a boxing fight, so I have to get so much food.
Picking a fight with the neighbour.
Not next door. So he, so much food into him, which is very high protein based. So sort of eggs for breakfast. He has a chicken salad for a snack, then a steak bagel at lunchtime. Then in the afternoon, often I would make him. Bagel. I know. In the afternoon, I would often make him a protein shake, but I'll add peanut butter in there and banana in there and stuff too. So it does help when I'm trying to give him that extra meal, particularly if he's got to gain weight, and then an evening meal again on top of him. It's just constant Lovoni, but
constant feeding.
But he really, really, really dislikes those protein bars, and I don't blame him because they've got a funny taste to them, and they don't make you feel great after. They make you. Do you know what they do? They make you so thirsty as well. You just want to drink water all the time when you've had them. So I'm not a fan. No.
I mean, anybody that's listening to this and wants to up their protein, don't use the powder or the protein bars as a substitute for the good fats. I mean, seriously, how hard is it to cook some chicken, people?
Yeah.
Really.
Or you can throw like chicken a tray if you really need to. You can buy a whole cooked chicken.
Rotisserie chicken. Yeah. But you can throw like a whole chicken in the oven. You can throw a tray of breasts or the air fryer or whatever, cook some, have it in the fridge. I do that with eggs. I cook a whole lot of eggs all at once and then have them in the fridge, squish them on some toast, whatever, as like a super quick breakfast. Blueberries, some yogurt on toast, done. Not the blueberries and yogurt, the egg on the toast, but and of course butter has protein too.
Oh, good.
All dairy does. Love my butter. Yes.
Nice.
Hey, do you want to talk about the
should we set a challenge? Yeah, I think we should we haven't done one for a while, have we? So let's set a challenge now, obviously based around our topic for today around protein. But I think it'd be really good to set the challenge of just take a view of your weekly food, your weekly plan, and make sure that at least 2 of your meals in a day has something which is a decent protein portion within your meal. So if you want to go down the route of actually measuring some out to give you that visual sort of mapping to work out what it is that you're aiming for, then do that. If you don't want to go that far, just at very least make sure that at least 2 meals of your day have got protein, a decent amount of protein in. That will set you on a really good path to at least getting a long way towards your goal, even if you're not quite there. And then you can start to think about how you can add some more in. So that's your challenge, is take a review of your week. And for this whole week, make sure that at least 2 of your meals have a high protein content, as well as all the other healthy, sections.
Right. Yeah. And I will also put up the list that I've made of, how much of everything, the weights, how much protein it has. I'll put that on our website too, lovoniandsarah.com.
For a reference place.
We'll do that. Next week, we're talking portion sizes. How many times have you felt horribly uncomfortable, so full after eating? Yeah.
Yes.
We've all been there. Portion sizes vary from person to person, of course, depending on your age, activity level, whether or not you're pregnant, whether you're trying to lose weight, gain weight, and such. But what are general portion sizes? Do you think you know? Some might surprise you, so please join us. Be sure to visit lovoniandsarah.com for show notes and episode links to where you can listen. Also see links below where you can connect with us on Instagram and YouTube where you can watch as well as listen to us. Thanks so much for joining us today. Hopefully you learned something.
Yes.
Hey, about protein.
Must have done.
Hopefully, yes. Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.